Back in the old days.
Then I seen on there where the coach was there. He actually said the media. So that's why. They tell them. That's probably
It's not like he's had a good year the last couple of years.
Welcome everyone to the August 29th meeting of the Aurora RA School District Board of Education. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2, consent agenda. If everyone's had an opportunity to review their board packets, look that over. If there are no changes, we'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Dave, second by Mark to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, education spotlight. Dr. Shaw?
Tonight we have Christy Pilger with us. You want to come on up this way? Christy is our new, one of our new vocational agricultural teachers, and she's here to talk with you all about what she is planning and working diligently to do with the farm that we have that's just actually north of the high school, just straight west of the football practice field. And so we've got a barn, we've got a great facility that has been there for nearly 10 years and it's just not being utilized. And so she's got some great ideas that she's talked with Mr. Rayford about, and then also spent some time talking with Dr. Edis and I about. And so we wanted her to be able to present her plans with all of you so that you're in the loop. People start asking what's going on with that area. And if you're like me, hadn't even been in that facility, and until somebody pointed it out, didn't even realize it was there because you just don't see it. So I'm going to turn that over to her. You've got in your packet 3 things from her. You've got the Aurora Micro Farm, you've got the Advocate Aurora overview, and then the application as well. And I'm sure she's going to be talking about all of those things, but you can follow along on the screen or on your computer as she goes through those. So.
Okay, and then did you hand those out too? Okay, I printed a few extras. I didn't realize that you guys had them all. Mark, do you want to come up here too? I just want to tell everybody thank you for letting me come and just tell you a few ideas and things that we have. I've been working closely with Mark Harmon, who is the Joplin Regional Stockyards PR person, marketing.
That's fine.
And so we just got to talking about this, and he thought it was a really good idea and has a lot of contacts, and just as we've been working closely as far as this plan, and he's given me lots of ideas for it. And yes, that's as big as it gets. Okay, so this was just a little aerial view of the farm. Like he said, I didn't know how many people actually had seen it. This is before the runs were built. There's now 4 runs that are coming out. There's water built in. It's pretty much has everything around it. It's got pipe fencing going around the whole facility. So I mean, there's not many ways that any livestock can get out of there. So there we go. All right, this is just some of the kids that have been willing and set forth a large effort to kind of help us clean it up. They're really excited about using it. They were kind of wondering why it hadn't been in use, and so they're excited about it. Every day they're like, what are we going to do outside? You know, what are we going to do today? Where are we going to put everything? And they've got lots of ideas. I haven't said a whole lot to them about why we're doing this. You know, there's a lot of different plans coming to action. There's lots of different avenues that we could take as far as using this. What kind of sparked my interest was the kids' SAE projects, and that's a supervised agricultural experience, which is something that a lot of the kids don't have these days. It's not very strong. Mr. Percival and I have done many SAE visits this summer already, and they want to have a project, you know. They would love to have anything with livestock, but they just can't, whether it's, you know, live in town, they don't have money, anything like that. And I think this is a huge opportunity for them to be able to do so. But not only for their SAE projects, which we kind of require a lot of the kids in the FFA program and our agricultural classes to have. I could use this for a learning tool. You know, as many hands-on things as I can have in class will be phenomenal. So not only to get livestock in here to use for the kids' SAE projects, but for them to go through nutritional studies, some, you know, health, reproductive systems, anything like that. It just would help them learn tremendously. Okay, so when I started, I kind of used being new as a tool. You know, I had all of the kids do a survey, you know, tell me about yourself, tell me your hobbies, tell me what you like to do, but I also threw in, have you shown livestock? Would you be interested in showing livestock? If you were to show livestock, what species are you interested in? And I didn't say, you're going to show livestock, I want you to do this right now. I said, are you interested? And some of them aren't. That's fine. This was just from my classes. Mr. Percival has not done it yet. I hadn't given them to his classes yet. But as far as their interest, 32% was cattle, 16% was interested in pigs, 16 sheep, so on and so forth. But there's a huge interest. I think it was 52 out of my 86 kids were interested in this. So it's pretty exciting, you know. It's just showing kids that there is an avenue and there is an opportunity for them. I was one of those kids, you know. We didn't have any money growing up, but I had a FFA advisor that helped me get some cattle, a horse. So it's just an opportunity that they might not otherwise have. Community involvement. This is really the backbone to any FFA chapter. You know, it's said that the kids are 4 to 6 generations from the family farm, or a farm in general. So if we can get community members involved, you know, bring the farm back into the kids' lives, and even if they don't go on to produce, you know, commercial cattle later, that's okay. They're still learning hard work. They're still learning, you know, hey, these cattle have to be fed every day. Or, you know, if they show, they're going to have to learn that it costs a little bit, that they have to take care of this animal. So I think that it's a neat way to bring some of the community members in to show them, you know, how to help them. And a lot of the things that Mr. Harmon and I have been talking about was to get the community involved by having a lot of the animals donated. Did you guys have a chance to go through and read the kind of the plan? So cattle was the number one interest, or the highest interest, so you have to start somewhere. So I started with cattle. You know, I would like to carry that plan out to all different species. You know, I mean, we could do that with pigs, with sheep, with goats, everything like that. But that's kind of where I started, because the barn is set up like a cattle barn, you know. It's set up with a lot of those facilities. And then I just kind of went into a couple of different phases. You know, obviously the first phase is to get it set up. You know, we need a few T-posts, we need some electric tape, we need some electric wire. It would not take much to put these runs. We've measured it. It's about 300 foot from the end of the runs to the back of the property. And you could have about 10-foot spans, so you would be able to have 6 different pens for heifers in there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. And like I said, a lot of the things that we can do in class, as far as if we need extra gates, if we need extra overheads, the kids are willing. I mean, they're like, yeah, we did this and we put it together, and you know, we put these together and we painted this, and they take pride in that. So I think if the kids kind of have some skin in the game, so to call, they're gonna appreciate it a lot more. Phase 2, maybe. There we go. Community, basically. I like we said, getting a lot of people involved, trying to get things donated. And it doesn't have to necessarily just be livestock that's donated. It can be money, you know, that's always great, but it could be anything to waterers, you know, anything that we can use out there, T-post covers, support, you know, just advertising for us. And I think it's important that we let them know that we're here, you know. Okay, and then the first sentence is probably my favorite on this. The largest goal associated with the Marco Farm is to allow students to be more involved and susceptible to learning about production agriculture. That's why I'm here, you know. I'm here to teach them about agriculture, and, you know, I'm mainly the animal science side, so if I can bring the classroom to them, if I can bring the animals to them, that's what I'm going to try and do. Okay, so this is just kind of an overview of everything. The facility that is there is just immaculate. It's a 40 by 60 barn with another attachment on the end. Like I said, the pens are there, the waters are there. We've got, in your packet, there's also all of the things that we have beyond that. It's incredible what's already there. So I just think we need to put it into use. Like I said, 4 generations from the farm. We're just trying to let the kids see what's out there or what's available to them. And, you know, it's going to spark a lot of interest. Kids are going to see, hey, this is in use. And even if they're not interested at the moment, they're going to see what these kids are doing. They're going to see, you know, all the hard work and what that hard work does when it pays off, when they're able to show these animals. Be able to remove the disconnect and just get the community involved. Okay, advocate. This is just something that we're talking about in class, and it's something that I want the kids to know that is really important. So I'll just go with the bottom one. Advocate is anyone who advocates for the agriculture industry, who supports the agriculture industry and works to tell their agriculture story. So that's what I want them to do. I want them to walk away from high school and be like, yes, this is what I got to do. I had the opportunity to do this. And my hope is that they carry this on with them, you know, growing up or in some form or fashion. Whether or not that happens, you know, I can't control that, but I can at least introduce it to them. Okay. This is just kind of reiterating that, like the plan. Engage kids in agriculture, the heifers, starting out with heifers because that's the most interested. They will be donated. Feed costs will have to be covered by the student. I think that it's important that they learn to, you know, keep track of how much money they made, how much money they spent. That's part of the SAE. They keep records of that. They can do exchange of labor too. It's just learning how to grow up, basically. How to be responsible for yourself. And then with the understanding that the school owns the heifers, and then it's a primary housing for them. Okay. And then if there is any questions or concerns, or if Mark had anything to add, I kind of went fast. I knew that you guys had already seen this, but I just kind of wanted to give an overview of some ideas. So my idea is for the SAE, because the kids could really use a good SAE project, and that's going to help them tremendously. But not only for that, you know, I want the school to have the heifers or the livestock. That way I can use it as a teaching tool as well.
Talk about when you want to actually start the process
Okay.
with the students, the heifers, how long that takes, what happens at the end of that time frame.
Okay. This is kind of something that we've been working on, so chime in if you have any. As far as ideas, I think it would be the smartest to get the heifers in January. That way we don't have to house them the whole winter. You know, it's at least a little bit November to December that we can be looking for them. We can be having them donated. Ideally, they'd be April to June heifers, April to May. Okay. That way they're able to show the next show season. So start in January. They have to more or less halt or break the heifer. I mean, that's a process in itself. they have to show up, they have to be there. There's, with the understanding that if they don't show up, or if they don't take care of their animal, that animal is going to go to somebody else. I had this application process. There needs to be a whole contract, a thing that they understand before they even fill this out. They have to understand that they need to cover feed costs and things like that. But back to your question, if we could start it in January, they're gonna have to halter break it, they're gonna have to feed it every day. You know, I mean, I'm gonna be there to help. There's a big whiteboard out in the classroom out there in the barn, and I would like them to initial each time they feed. That way I know it's been done, okay? The heifers, 700 pounds ideally-ish, if we can get them all to line up together, you know, as far as when they are donated. We could use that for a feed trial. Okay, they're all gonna be fed the same unless something is wrong. But fast forwarding through all this, once they get them halter broke, and they work with them, then at the Lawrence County Fair, it is my wish that they show their heifer at the Lawrence County Fair. I would like to have a separate class for them, or there's an open show for them. And the top 3 heifers that are picked are the ones that are donated, they get to keep that heifer. So that way it's a competition within the kids, within the chapter, you know, and that heifer and the kid are picked out of the hat. They're not gonna get to go pick the heifer they wanna show us. But as far as the application process, they're gonna have to each fill one of these out, and then I think it should go to a committee that picks the kids. So that's kind of my wish. So if the top 3 are picked, once those are picked, then I would like those heifers to be donated to the kids. Once the producer has donated the livestock, they have the understanding that they could not get those heifers back, potentially. So once the kids win those top 3 heifers, the other ones go back to the producers. I feel like that's an incentive for the producers as well. You know, why not get your heifer fed for 6 months for free? So. Anything?
I'd just like to say how we met. I run the beef house at the Ozark King Park Fair. I reached out to Sam to get some help from the FFA, and we made a nice donation to their cause. And they did a great job. You guys should be really proud of them. She came in. I thought she was one of the students. They come around the corner. I'm saying, okay, shut all your cell phones off. You know, here's how the process works. She goes, I'm the advisor. Okay. But anyway, I'm kind of, you know, I travel 7 states. I print a magazine that goes to 10,000 producers. I've been at the same place for 35 years. I look for people like this to help what we do in the agriculture business. You know, my wife just retired from 23 years of teaching. She says in Mount Vernon, which is probably one of the biggest cow-calf places there is, they're 5 or 6 generations away. Kids don't know where their food comes from. But anyway, with that said, she just mentioned this farm to me. It kind of caught me off guard. So after the night was over, we sat down, she told me about it. I could not believe what an opportunity this is for Aurora. So we met over there one Saturday. I could not believe I didn't expect it to look like that. I thought, oh my God. Somebody's donated land, built the building, fenced it up, it just needs a caretaker. So I'm gonna do a feature article on her about this in the October issue of this. Put it out so that people see what's going on, see them how to contact her.
For their magazine.
You know, agriculture is different than sports. 95% of the kids that go to this school here are not gonna play football or basketball. They gotta know how to eat. This is a good way to do it right here. I'm gonna reach out to people. We deal with huge corporations where we work. We sell 400,000 cattle a year. So we have a pretty big network. And I like to bring them into places like this, let them help them. But you know, good things happen to good people. And if they see that the Aurora school system is backing this deal, they're probably more apt to help. I would say there's probably, you're a lot more industry than like Mount Vernon is where I live. But I'd say if you went down to the courthouse in Mount Vernon and looked and see who paid the school taxes in this area, it's not the people who live in town. The people who own this big farm. And they pay it, and I pay mine. It's high, but I don't care, you know. My wife worked there, so I got a little bit of back. But I'm here to help her spread the message. And you know, this could be an example for your school, for other schools that are in FFA. I travel 7 states, and I've never seen anybody this fired up. That's why I latched on to her. Once I got over and said, I thought, she just needs help. But that's what I'm here for. I'm just here to help. And I think there's people that are out there that'll help people. Like I said, good things happen to good people when they see you're trying to do something. It's not always about the money. It's about the end result. So, if you don't have any questions for me, I'm just here to help her do this. It caught me off guard. So, that's all I gotta say.
It's what the building was built for.
Absolutely.
It was, I mean, we were on, several of us were on the board with that.
I like to choke down when I
That's why
seen it.
it's,
I could not, and you have everything there.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I like to have that at my house. But if you need some help. Just don't miss the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, Michael did the groundwork and a lot of volunteers came in there and built the building. I mean, it was, but, the ag department, built the thing and they helped fund it.
Yeah.
And we paid for everything that took labor.
Right. Oh, I'm saying, I mean, it was all a good idea, it was all put in, but my question was, how's it being used now? You know, it's not, no, I think it's a great idea, I think it's got a wonderful man and corporation he works for backing this, I mean,
It's-
you have every right to be excited, because it's only going to blossom with him in your corner, my opinion.
You don't need to do a motion or anything, do you? You got
Okay,
100%
I'm just sitting here
support.
looking at you guys, okay, I'm
Yeah,
done.
but what else?
I mean, thank you for
Yeah.
all of your work on that, for presenting to us tonight. I think it's a great thing. Anything you can do to engage kids hands-on
Yeah,
is what we need, actually.
that's not mine.
Yeah, well, maybe we don't, I don't wanna watch Angry Birds.
No, my nephew would.
Jungle Brook?
No problem. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. All right. No, it's in that thing.
I'm sure you'll have that opportunity.
Mark probably won't want it back, it'll be something that maybe turning into a fundraiser for the project.
That's kind of what I figured the end goal would be. Sell off the need for fundraising.
And that's an option.
Better, we won't be eating pizza. Medium
Grill
rare.
steaks on the back patio back here.
Medium rare.
Item 4, old business, facilities.
Gary Barbie is here with us again from Sanguine and Associates, and you all approved the conceptual drawing at the beginning of the month, and so he and his the engineers on this project have been working diligently to get everything finalized and ready so that we could move forward with the final approval of all of the drawings, mechanical drawings and so forth, elevations, and then also get a bid date set on when bids would be due so that we could go through those and then approve everything, hopefully by the October meeting, and then get moving forward on getting the concession, press box and bathrooms started going for the ball field, so.
And I'm sure I'll pretty well summed it up. I'm here to get plans and specs approved by the board, and then also set a bid date. And we're kind of looking at the 28th, which is a Wednesday, September. But I'm leaving the time up to you. If you want to be here, what time is best for board members to be here. If you're not interested in being here during that time, I'll probably set it for after school at 3:30 or 4 o'clock.
It's not something that you have to be here for. Basically, it's the opening of bids is what that
Yeah.
process is. There's
And
no
we'll take them all under
There's no
advisement.
decisions that will be made at that time. It's just nothing more than a public opening of the bid, so.
Between the 28th and the 3rd, or 4th, excuse me, your board meeting, we'll have to give our office time to review the bids and then come back with recommendations to you, to the board on
And that gives it'll give right at 4 weeks, I believe, once we have approval tonight, and then they get everything out on the street Wednesday of this week, and then that's exactly, I believe, 4 weeks from that
And
date.
if any of the board knows someone out there that would like to bid a project like this, send them our way. We'll talk with them, and just plans. We've got some people already lined up, that the more the merrier.
Sometimes those smaller projects, you don't have as much interest in.
They're just a little bit small.
Yeah.
But it not bring up some of your local people. Yeah, but
So they contact you if they want to bid?
Well, if they're interested in it, don't know how to get a hold of us, Dr. Shaw,
I can
push them our way.
And then you have your sites and all that stuff that everything gets put out on, that all of these plumbers, electricians, block layers, all
All
of
the Dodge,
concrete,
and all the plant holding houses, access, so that's 4 out there, and then, just word of mouth, you know, just a school project that, in front of people. And there's a lot of local sites that I know right there, local. That'd be interesting to me. Any questions? Is the 28th all right for that date?
What about, how does everything tie in? Are we gonna try to play softball? Are we gonna try to get softball on that field?
As long as the field is ready, yes. Obviously, this isn't even gonna be close to being ready, but I'm still being
Right, but,
told,
well, I don't know if I want construction going on while we're trying to play.
I don't
softball.
know that I don't know that that's gonna happen. If I look at, let me pull up their schedule.
And then we can coordinate the ball game.
Yeah, and something as small as the press box, we could probably schedule.
The
That's
final
right.
home game is Monday, October 3rd.
Okay.
And so we want, there's not even gonna be approval by the board until that, and so, we're hoping to be able to have the last 2 weeks of the season played there, assuming everything with the field is taken care of, and then, so yeah, that's not gonna be an issue.
Do you know how many construction days we're allowing?
We're gonna ask them how many days that they think that field's gonna be. And that can be used as a tool, just.
Right. Cost as well as completion timeframe. So you need a motion for approval from the board to approve
Plans and specs,
plans and specs and,
and it says bid date and time.
okay.
And like I said, the 28th is what we're shooting for,
Do you all want to be here for the opening of bids on the 28th?
and we can move it up, don't get me wrong, we can move it
No,
up.
Okay.
nothing exciting.
No, it's not.
It really isn't, I mean, it's
No,
like open
my
bids,
job
thank
is
you
pretty
for
boring.
something right now. Okay, well, if that's the case, then, I mean, my suggestion would be that we do it like 3:30 in the afternoon, if Gary's okay with that, and then it's not another thing that gets added to the evening.
3:30 is fine.
So, and then if you wanna be here Wednesday, October 28th at 3:30, you can be, and if not, then.
I would move to approve the plans and specs and set the bid date for the press box concession stand for September the 20th at 3:30.
Second.
Motion by Dave to set the date for the bids and approve the specs and plans. Second by Chantel. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah,
I could for somebody to say.
yeah, it was,
Dave went over
I had
a few
Dave
minutes ago.
take a look at him, cause I figured he was the only one who would understand him, so. Yeah, I wouldn't understand what I'm looking at. So, just wanted to give a highlight too while we're on that piece, where we are with the ball field. Some of you have been by there and seen it. They're just about finished getting all of the field turf down. They're on final stages of irrigation. Once the irrigation is completed, they can get everything smoothed back out there. We've got to get a water line tied in from the building down to the irrigation. Once that happens, then sod can be laid. We'll need a little bit of time to get that water to where it can start taking root. Dugouts, we're waiting on finishes to come in for that, the roofing on the dugout, the netting that goes around the back. So lot of things in motion right now. They're still telling me, mid-September, we can hope to be ready to play. The good thing is that we really won't use very much of the grass at all for softball because of where the fence will go in. It'll be primarily the field turf, which is a good thing. So, and that's just about ready, but,
So you're thinking maybe the 13th or the 15th game?
we're hoping, yeah.
Because they played the first. and
Right,
don't
they
play
have
the
7 or
second.
8 home games from the 13th of September through October 3rd, so there's quite a bit. They only play one home game prior to that time,
Right.
so. but- And then tennis courts, they're finishing final work on the crowning of that. Lights are in down at tennis courts, so once the final crown work's done there, then asphalt company will get in, get that laid, and then we'll get it all sealed and painted and everything, and then fencing around that, so, it doesn't look like that's gonna be ready for this fall at all, so it's, kind of falling behind, cause that part is, things up top of that after, before that down below good, so. But hoping, like I said, to still be finished up mid-September. The other piece on facilities, last month I, presented to you a draft for district facilities use policy. I know there was some confusion that Chantel had brought up regarding the, some wording that I had in about custodians coming and opening and closing the facility when it's on weekend or holiday. And so I changed the wording of that to make more sense. And then I know Mark had brought up a comment regarding fee for certain buildings, we charge the same, not the same. Thought a lot about that, and really, in the end, for me and my recommendation, the purpose for having fees for use of facilities outside of school time is to offset our costs that we wouldn't normally incur. And so, whether it's the high school gym, whether it's the armory, whether junior high facility, whatever it is, I felt it was a lot simpler and really accomplish the purchase or the purpose for the fee. And so I did elect to leave that alone. So when you look at the second page on the only page on the facilities use fee schedule, you'll see that the adjustment for opening and closing the facility, if it's on a weekend or a holiday, there's gonna be an upfront fee, or not an upfront, it'll be part of their fee of that $30, and then you've got your hourly fees for custodial if they have to come clean it up, use of the facility to offset the utilities costs, and then if they do use kitchen, having to have, from a liability standpoint, the kitchen staff there to assist, you've got that as well. So, and again, this only applies for certain groups which are listed there, so it's really for those people that have been coming in and using our facilities, a lot of times making money off of using our facility, and then they're charged $20 and that's it, and that's not what our facilities are intended to be used for. So if there's questions, concerns, please ask, please state them. If not, I would request a motion to approve the facilities use agreement and fee schedule as presented so that we can get this in place in all of our buildings.
What are regular working hours considered?
Regular working hours would be, if it's a facility that utilities are gonna be on regardless, that's what we would consider. So it's gonna be different depending on where you're at. If it's your commons area, let's say in the high school, the utilities and lights are gonna be on until custodians leave. If it's in a gymnasium, once practice or whatever is over, then it's not gonna be in use, and in order to use it, then we're turning that back on. And so that's gonna change a little bit depending on what facility that they're using. Basically, if we're having to turn lights on and keep utilities, HVAC running at an occupied level, then that would be considered outside of that time if that has to change. And again, that's the purpose for the fee itself. And a lot of the purpose for this is that there has been such a great deal of inconsistency among all of the buildings, and and what one building does one thing, another does another, you know, there's just not a knowledge of it, and so really needing to get something that's in place, approved by the board. And I think I've mentioned this before, that this particular policy was actually sent to me 4 years ago, and it was sent to me by a previous employee who worked here, where this was actually in place several years ago. So, this wasn't something that I obviously just created. It was something that's been in use at some point in time here, but kind of got by the wayside.
That is an item that requires a motion and a second and a vote for approval, or it will die for lack of.
I move to approve the facilities usage agreement as presented.
Motion by Dave, second by Scott, to approve the district facilities use policy as presented. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4B, 2014 general obligation bond money.
One of the things we found out through our audit, and this was a question that Randall Newts asked me, and he had to do some checking on because he wasn't aware. And I've never dealt with this before, because when I've been a part of bond issues, the money that's been collected has been spent and it's been taken care of within the first year or so. But there is statutory requirements that say you have to spend bond money within 3 years of passing that bond issue. And so the reason this is being brought up is we have money setting that's been earmarked basically for our technology. It's been set aside that will be used to fund our lease purchase payment with Arvest for the new MacBooks that were just purchased. The problem with that is, as you can understand, is that was a 4-year lease. We made our first payment here in July. We have to pay this off now according to the information that we're being given by no later than April. Well, it really doesn't make any sense to wait, because every day that we wait is interest that is being accrued on that balance. So when it comes to the bond money, we made a payment of $172,831. That leaves a remaining principal, excluding any interest that will have been accrued since the time of the lease starting, which was has been about not quite 2 months, of $498,344. There is actually $466,648 that remains after we've already made this payment. Okay, so we're lacking $31,695, excluding any of that little bit of interest that's been accumulated. Keep in mind that we'll have approximate $165,000 that's going to go back into this Fund 4 account from either the sale of MacBooks to people who bid on them and or trade-in. Okay, so we're $32,000 short, but we're going to get $165,000 back in. It doesn't have to be used for that particular purpose. It has to go into Fund 4. So the issue is the money's there, and because it actually will affect the budget that you approved in June, because we're going to have a much larger Fund 4 payment for our MacBooks than we initially anticipated, because we plan to pay it off over 4 years. It really does need an approval of the board to go ahead and pay off the remaining balance of the Arvest lease. And I'm going to get with them, assuming you all are okay with me doing that right away. I'm going to get with them in the morning and get a payoff amount and get a check written as quickly as we can. So it will probably be more like middle of the month when we get that taken care of, unless I can get Tammy to do that quickly. But
I'll make that one.
Is
the 160,000 is gonna go back in the account and be subject to the 3 years as well?
No.
It's not.
It has nothing to
Those
do with,
proceeds
no,
from-
it has nothing to do with the bond. It's surplus item, but the sale of surplus item does have to go into Fund 4. So we sell buses, has to go into Fund 4. We sell $25 worth of classroom desks, it has to go to Fund 4, so that's about what they're worth.
Motion by Steve, second by Chantel, to use the remaining general obligation bond money, to pay off, the technology lease with Arvest. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, new business, Sodexo Facilities Management Contract Renewal.
Sodexo approached me, Lance and, you're on a blank, Lance, who was with you? Marty, that's right. I was thinking Barry, and I'm thinking that's not right. Marty, which is the regional manager. But anyway, they talked to me about the renewal. This is an amendment that basically takes place every year. They were waiting to see on some things regarding this office and the ball field, but basically they talked with me about what I was anticipating at that time for staff raises, and based on what I was predicting and what we actually ended up doing, it figured out to be around a 2.5% average increase. It was 3 on the high end and some lower, and so I budgeted for that 2.5% increase, which was actually in the budget that you all approved in June. We're just now getting the amendment. The amendment actually takes my signature, but Lance had said that's something that annually they generally have the board to approve the amendment. You've got a copy of the amendment there, and you can see, I don't know that it particularly says a percentage, but when I looked at that amount and I went and looked at my budget spreadsheet that would have been what you all approved, I think my budget spreadsheet said $901,599, and this amount says $901,600. So the 2.5% was pretty accurate. So there's nothing new as far as what you've approved. This is the exact expenditure that we were anticipating. This spring we'll have this discussion again, but we will get this amendment and take care of it prior to even approving a budget for next year. That way we have all of that in line. So, but I would go ahead and ask if the board would approve the attached amendment for the contract with Sodexo.
Move we approve the amendment dated July 29th to extend Sodexo's contract through June 28th to June 27th of 2017, 901,600.
Motion by Mark, second by Steve, to approve the Sodexo Facilities Management Contract Renewal as presented to us, dated July 29th through June 2017. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B, surplus school bus bids.
Prior to putting this out to bid, as you can remember, part of what was in our budget and will be in our budget in the foreseeable future would be to continue to replace old buses with newer, definitely newer pre-owned, couple years old buses, which we have in place, but we don't need to continue to stockpile our buses. We had quite an adventure moving all those buses this summer when we had to seal the parking lot because some of them just wouldn't even start, and part of that was because they hadn't been driven for a while, batteries. But anyway, George got an estimate from the dealership where we're getting the buses on what trade-in was. Obviously, we kept that amount quiet until we got the bids in. You'll see the 3 bids there in front of you. And obviously, if we weren't gonna get anything greater than the 1,700, then we would just trade the buses in. But because we got a bid for $1,152 for the 98 and $1,052 for the 95, totaling $2,204, that would be my recommendation, that we accept the bid for each of those buses from Bruce Burnett and get those babies sold and out of here. To me, amazing how cheap you can buy an old bus.
So moved.
Diane, absolutely.
Motion by Mark, second by Scott to approve Bruce Burnett as the bidder for the 2 surplus school buses. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And item C, ASPR financial update.
Wanted to give the board an update after the ASPR had been filed, which, for those of you who don't know, is the annual secretary to the board's report, which is something that is required to be filed by August 15th each year. Made a copy of this, the first sheet of the ASPR. There's several sheets to it, but this is the one that I wanted to draw your attention to. The one question that we all look at and talk about is what's that percentage of unrestricted fund balances that we have? And as you'll see, we had a great financial year last year. Some things that we did adjust with the ASBR when the auditors were here was we had planned to make the 7% maximum transfer, which was the plan all along, which would help fund the building of the athletic fields at the high school. Because we had such a great year, we went ahead and also changed where our classroom trust fund, the majority of it went into. And so with doing those things, one thing, what I want to point out is we finished with almost a 31% fund balance. So, which in dollars and cents is a little over about $5.1 million of unrestricted. The restricted fund balance that you see there in the general or incidental fund, that's specifically for scholarships. So that money's there, but that money's earmarked for that. The other thing to take a look at is your capital projects fund, and you'll notice that the ending fund balance there was about 2.3 million. 639,000 of that's restricted. That was bond money. Okay, so that leaves about close to $1.7 million in Fund 4, which by the time it's all said and done, we're going to be close to around 1.3 for the complex at the high school. This year, we are anticipating, if everything comes through as budgeted, that unrestricted balance is going to go up to roughly around 34.7%. Okay, now your target that you have set as a board, and which is in our comprehensive school improvement plan, is to be around 20%. 1% in this year's budget is about $176,000. So if you think about 14.7% higher than the 20%, the 34.7, you're roughly in the neighborhood of around $2.5 million. Okay, so there's also going to be a balance after this year's budget, and so I'm anticipating that with that additional fund balance as well as what's in there, you know, you're going to be anywhere between $2.5 and $3 million that is potentially available to be used for things that we've not been able to do some things with over time. Now, the first thing that pops up in people's head is, let's give big raises and all this kind of stuff for staff, which is a great idea. The problem is that never goes away. So we got to back up from that, because you can't look at, if you have a larger fund balance than you want, by putting into reoccurring cost. You need to look at things that you could potentially do that are one-time cost. And so I bring this up, one, because we had a great financial year as a district, and that takes a lot of people's effort to do that. It takes people that are in charge of all the different building budgets. It takes budgeting correctly, revenues coming in good, expenditures being less. All of those things were positive. And so the district is very healthy. The fund balance is there. The other reason to bring this up is really to be transparent with this. I mean, you all need to be aware of this. Staff needs to be aware that we're healthy as a district. We obviously have to be careful moving forward, because there's, you know, as long as enrollment stays where it needs to be, that's a big key. And then also the funding from the state, obviously still has to be there. So, next month, I will probably bring to you an amended budget. That's gonna have all of our updated, teacher salaries with where everybody is on the salary schedule, any adjustments. Hopefully by then we'll know, really where we are, on some of our capital expenditures, and we'll get that up to date. But things continue to look very promising as far as the financial outlook. So, I was really pleased with the 31% fund balance, and I met with the Big 8 superintendents today, and Monette said they finished with a 47% fund balance. So they have a lot of ELL population over there, and so they really literally cannot spend all the money that they bring in. And I think Cassville was about 38%, he said, but East Newton's about 14.5%. So not everybody is in as good a shape financially. So I feel good about this. I feel good moving forward. We were able to give raises again and continue to try to keep up in the conference. But any questions about this?
Always good to have extra,
Yes.
as opposed to be trying to figure out what you're gonna cut.
Yeah, I was surprised. You know, there's different philosophies in budgeting, and so I don't anticipate this much of a discrepancy really in time. For example, the budget as it sits right now is showing about $840,000 to the black, adding to our funds, okay? There's different philosophies on how a person can budget that. I could easily make that budget look like it's $100,000 to the black, simply by going in and saying revenues are gonna be this much less than what I'm anticipating, expenditures are gonna be this much more. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but when I evaluate things over a course of a year and I see that we have this much money budgeted for an account, but we're only gonna spend this much, to me, it's silly to keep that as it is. Let's adjust that accordingly, because somebody else might be coming and saying, hey, I need this for this particular program. Right, and we can adjust those accordingly. So but with that in mind, yes, revenues are still budgeted conservatively, because I don't want to budget for more than what I anticipate getting.
Right.
But I also want the expenditures to be as accurate as possible. And really 99 times out of 100, your expenditures are always gonna come in under budget unless some horrible thing happens. So, Mark?
So when we do these program reviews that we approve every month, always at the end of them, it's a weakness, program weakness, and there's always either some item or something that they need. For instance, a library, you know, is not open half the time because we're short of pair in the intermediate and the elementary, so it's closed approximately half the day. Maybe not quite, but anyway, just that's using as an example. Is that what we're gonna do as far as looking at some of the programs that we have that show weaknesses, and see how we can shore up some of those weaknesses?
And certainly that's one area to be looking at. Again,
I'm sure technology, and each one of them, when they present
Right.
when we approve these in the consent agenda, they always have that, you know, weakness, program weakness, where they
Right.
tell, this is what we need for this program to be where it should be.
Right.
And I think that would be a place to start looking.
And I think a great time to begin having a lot of those discussions is, you know, when we meet annually for, you know, board retreat, and spend a good amount of time doing that, which usually happens mid-school year, and then it allows me to begin planning and talking with those folks throughout the spring to prepare a budget.
Right.
So, you know, and when you know, if they consider a weakness, you know, not enough staff, you know, again, those are things you have to be cautious with, because adding staff is no different than adding
And I
large
just use
raises.
that as an example, some of them, it's a program that they
Right.
need, you know, for, you know, to make their, the standard, hit the standard that they're wanting to hit, so.
Mhm.
But I think if we just took all of those and looked at the program weaknesses as a area by area, because those are already identified.
Right.
We don't have to go looking for weaknesses.
Right.
That's why they do these things,
Right.
so they can identify.
Good point.
Anything else on the budget discussion?
That's it for me.
Item 6, reports, AEA report.
We met on the 22nd. We just discussed things like, ways to improve, not really morale, but maybe community within the staff. Because like, high school doesn't really know paid staff real well, et cetera, so we talked about some things we could do there. We talked about reenacting some of our committees that have kind of gone by the wayside to help the community know what goes on here or within the school district, and maybe educate them a little bit about what goes on. And then we talked about we kind of talk continuously about our scholarship and our scholarship money throughout the year and how we want to distribute that. And we kind of talked again about continuing that at 2 high school scholarships and 1 college student scholarship. And it looks like that'll be a possibility again for this year. So that's kind of what we did on the 22nd when we met.
So on the community involvement, the committees there,
Uh-huh.
when the last time we had a bond issue where we were able to do a lot of improvements to the schools, is that the type of committee you're thinking of?
We have in the past, AEA has worked with the board to maybe do some community education on the Bond Act or to get out information. We haven't the last several times, we haven't been asked to be involved in that, but yeah, we have, like, I've been on AEA for like 18 years now, and that has been something like way back that we have done, but yeah.
Then like the CSIP committee we used to have, like back when I came to town, and it's probably one of the reasons I was interested in being on the board is involvement through some of those things.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're referencing?
Well, one of the things we talked about specifically that day was National Education Week, and the school used to be really involved in letting the community know. It's a week in November where you kind of educate the community on what's going on within education, and we would do things out in different businesses and put things up on kiosks and stuff and let them know that is a week, and it's not Teacher Appreciation Week, and it's not, Principals Appreciation Week. It's just National Education Week, and we would put stuff in the newspaper about education. We put stuff up in the buildings. We put stuff out like at Walmart. We put stuff at Price Cutters. There was stuff all over town usually, and several of the businesses would agree to put things up on their boards. Just that it was National Education Week, hooray, whatever they wanted to put up. That's kind of where we want to start.
Sure.
And then, because it's just that's a big one that we always were involved in. And then kind of go from there. Yeah.
Last couple of years, AEA's also participated in the Christmas parade, and we're looking to do that again. We've discussed possibility of taking cookies around to some of the business owners just to reach out, a special thanks from the teachers for supporting the school.
Because we do ask businesses to donate and vote, and people in the community to vote for bond issues and things like that. And so, we need that relationship between the school and the businesses and the school and the community.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Those are just things that we've mentioned. We're also looking at possibly getting a group to go to the Kansas City Chiefs football game, which you guys would you like to be invited to that?
That was one of the building a community within the buildings, and
We'll send you out an invitation. You could, if you want to join our group.
Yeah.
But that's kind of one of our big activities, social activities for the fall.
We had decided to maybe one a semester big teacher activities or staff, it wasn't teachers, it's staff, it's everybody in the district. Nurses, custodians, cooks, whoever wants to go. So, board members, we don't care, your wives, yeah, your favorite student, whoever, just everybody would be invited to go, yeah. And to help build that relationship between the, like I said, the buildings and the, so we get to know who works here. Because a lot of us don't know. It's like, we worked a table, the first day of school, and I'm like going, wow, how long's that person work? Are they new? And Sandra would go, yeah, no. So, I'm like going, they've been here 10 years. I'm like going, really? Okay. So, I realized then, you know, there's a lot of people we don't know just because we work in different buildings. So.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Item B, Sodexo Food Service.
Jason's not here tonight, he wasn't able to make it.
He's in the middle of getting everything moved from Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. He's had a little bit of a moving company nightmare. Anyway, trying to get settled. So.
Okay. Then item C, Lance, do you have anything to add?
Just thank you all for allowing us to be part of what you do here. And there are very few more important jobs than always influencing the next generation. And for us to get to play a small role in that, it's a privilege and an honor. And we're thankful to play a part in that process. So thank you all.
Well, you don't have to thank us. We thank you for everything you do.
Thanks.
Item D, building principals. Dr. King?
Nothing to add.
Mr. Mace?
Nothing to add.
Mr. Bax?
Nothing to add.
Anyone from junior high? No? Mr. Rayford's out?
Family
Okay.
issue too.
Item E, athletic director, Mr. Brown.
Just to add a couple quick results for events that have occurred since Friday. On Saturday, girls volleyball took third in the Willard tournament. Boys soccer lost their opener this afternoon against New Covenant Academy. And girls tennis got washed out about 15 minutes in this afternoon.
Thank you. Item F, transportation, Mr. Colchin.
Nothing to add.
Special education, Dr. Lakin.
Nothing to add.
Assistant superintendent, Dr. Ritas. Superintendent, Dr. Shaw.
Just one real quick thing regarding the board meeting in October. Chantel's kind of communicated with me early on. There's a home volleyball game Monday night, which would affect her. There's a home JV game Monday night, which I know affects Grant, Steve, and myself with a son playing. Tuesday, I know Chantel said she had an away volleyball game, but would be okay with missing it if she needed to. I know there's a home soccer game on Tuesday, but that's at 4:30, so should be. Is Jeffrey not playing?
No, he's playing.
Non-issue. So, everybody okay with doing October's meeting on October 4th? It's that Tuesday.
Yeah, that Miss Lamar, no, he's sad.
So, and Grant texted me today because I know he's doing football referee, and those are generally on Monday, and so he had asked about that. So if everybody's okay, we'll do Tuesday's meeting, or October's meeting on Tuesday the 4th. That's all I've got.
Item J, Board of Education. A couple things I have, just really to keep us up to date. A couple of years ago, we had a fairly new board. The majority of us were under 3 or 4 years, and so we had someone in to give us legal updates, do's and don'ts, ethics of board members. After this past election, we didn't do that, so I took the liberty of just going to MSBA's website and printing off the school board member ethics. I have a copy of that for all of us. And then also, I had visited briefly with Mark, and he had informed me, this one's dated 2011, 2012, that the Aurora board had actually come up with a list of 10 different things, expectations of board members. So just from time to time, we get questions, from each other, from the public, from school staff, what can and can't board members do. And so I have copy of that for each one of us.
And those board norms, there may have been another one, we actually adopted those, we voted those in. Those, I'm thinking that there was a 13, 14, I think we went 2 years, and updated them pretty much the same with the
Yes.
wording.
Same thing.
And most of those were based on looking at politeness, because we kind of got it to the point, and I was a frequent offender myself, of mumbling at meetings, not talking loud enough for people out in the audience to hear, which is never a good thing. Not allowing all the board members to have proper say on each issue in an orderly fashion, things like that. We had addressed closed session items in the last one, and it's not on here, but we did on the last Board of Education norms that we did in 13, 14, I think, that we addressed closed it, even though some of that stuff is on the ethics and the need of board members to separate their personal and board activities, because we had issues of outside activities. You know, when you're outside, you speak to yourself, and when you're here, we speak to the board. So I wish all of that would have been on there, but that was the only one I could come up with.
And I appreciate you digging that out and sending it to me. And, you know, and I would throw this out to any, although the majority of board communication goes through Dr. Shaw, you know, the worst thing we can have, either within the district or out in the community, is misinformation. And so if someone has a question about why did we do this, why did we do that, they certainly call on me or Dr. Shaw, and, you know, we'll be happy to answer those questions to the best of our ability.
It helps to have a scapegoat. I mean, literally, having one voice, single point of contact to handle issues, and one of the things, I don't know if it's on there or not, especially when it comes to media, if you're ever contacted by the media, our board policy specifically states that those two people are the people that refer them directly to board president and or superintendent for any media requests, things like that.
And if you guys find that there's things that come up that you do want to have a refresher, I know Dwayne Martin was here, well, it's been a year and a half now, I think, since he was here. It was shortly after, I think, Dave and Jeremy were elected that he came in. That was when you sat in the wrong seat, wasn't it? Yeah, that's what I thought. But if there are things to bring up, I mean, we can reach out to them and have them come back down. It's always a good refresher, because I know I was there at that meeting, and I think it was not only great for the new board members, but I think there was a lot of things that existing board members were refreshed on and learned and didn't really realize that that's how, you know, things need to be done. And so it's always good to get a refresher and get that training firsthand. And I love the fact that all 7 board members are going to the MSBA conference, because I think it's a
Great opportunity.
great professional development for all of you. And so.
And things change.
Absolutely, they're always changing. That's why we have board policies.
A lot of times I remember the way it was in the 80s, and unfortunately, or more fortunately, depending on issues, it has changed in a lot of areas. So retraining old minds is difficult. The conference is a good opportunity to do that too.
Anything else? We have one quick item in closed sessions, so I move that pursuant to RSMO 610.021 to discuss item 3, we go into closed session.
Second.
Motion by Jeremy, second by Mark to go into closed session. Chantel? Steve?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Dave? Scott? I'm an aye. Our open session is adjourned. Thank all of you for coming.